Good afternoon, dear students, also students of economics program, third year English program of our university. Today's lecture will be dedicated to the state foreign trade policy in the agricultural sector, the agricultural policy course. In our previous lesson, we discussed the agricultural finance policy, including agricultural subsidies. So we discussed categorization of the subsidies, interest rates of loans, its impact on financial situation of agricultural producers, existing mechanism of subsidization process in Azerbaijan. Today we will discuss state foreign trade policy in the agricultural sector. The following are our questions: the essence and the importance of state foreign trade policy in the agricultural sector. Second is foreign trade of the country, its commodity and geographical structure. We will discuss which commodities take biggest share in import and export operations, also countries. Tariff methods of foreign trade policy, which one of the tools in the regulation of international trade. Functions, types, and also customs duties on protection of the domestic market. Also, we will discuss non-tariff methods of state regulation of economic activity, export subsidies, and export promotion activities in the Republic of Azerbaijan. Let's discuss what's international trade or foreign trade. Of course, it's not possible to live without international relations and international economic relations, and probably you cannot find any country which doesn't have any foreign trade. That's why international trade, it's the exchange of goods and services between countries, between firms, between people. And what are goods and services? Of course, goods are tangible things. But the services, it's intangible things, and the service sector takes biggest share in, especially in developed countries, GDP. So why countries trading? And as you know, Adam Smith lived in the 18th century, Scottish economist, and we call him founder of economics. He put four main reasons: mutual gains from voluntary exchange of existing goods. It's the first reason of trade. Second is increased competition. As you know, competition is one of the factors of market economy. Third one is the division of the labor. As you know, many countries specialize on certain production of certain goods and services. Also better use of skills and resources in different countries. So in modern, of course, in Adam Smith's period, service didn't take biggest share in total international trade or in production. But now, what are the main reasons in modern world? It's, of course, wider consumer choice and lower prices. As you know, one of the main factors of the market economy is freedom of choice, and the consumers have many choices and they have right to get products in reasonable prices. Second is firms have access to larger markets and gains economies of scale and access to cheaper raw materials. Third reason, access to resources and products they may not have available in their own country. For example, in Azerbaijan, it's not possible to produce tropical fruits. That's why we should import them from other countries. So also, at the same time, many countries import different fruits or in general agricultural products from Azerbaijan. Fourth one is specialization and the trade increase food output. Last one is the political reasons. Of course, current economic relations also relate with the political reasons and political issues. So what are the main definitions in international trade? Of course, export. Export is the sending of goods and services from one country to another country. Import, it's the bringing of goods and services from different countries to any country. So what's the foreign trade turnover? Sometimes we call it a trade flow. It's a foreign trade, it's equal export plus import, right? So we have sum of export and import, it's a foreign trade flow. And the foreign trade balance, it's a difference between trade balance equal difference between export and import. So if we have a positive trade balance, positive figure, it means that we have a positive trade balance. If we have a negative trade balance, it means that our import is more than our export. So, of course, each country is trying to get more export rather than its import and to get positive trade balance. So in this scale, as you see, we have a positive trade balance. Our export heavier than our import. If instead of it, if we would have a higher import than our export, then we would have negative trade balance. In general, positive trade balance reflects that we have more production than our consumption. If we have a negative trade balance, it means that we have less production than our consumption, and the rest part of demand should be imported. So, international trade of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and we have some figures from 1991, 1995, 2000, 2010, and 2018. In 1991, when we got independence, total trade flow was around $4 billion. In 2018, it was more than $30 billion, which 7.5 times more than that period. So we had an import 1.9 billion, and we had the export 2.1, and we had 239.8 million positive trade balance. Unlike this year, in 1995, we had the negative trade balance. It means that we had $667.7 million imports and the $637.2 million exports. That's why we had a negative trade balance, because the economy was in recession period and the reforms didn't start in the country, and that's why we had much more imports than our export. So the rest years we had a positive trade balance. So in 2018 we had a $11.5 billion import and a $20.3 billion export, and as a result we got more than $8.8 billion positive trade balance. So we have a positive trade balance, but in sectorial trade balance we have some negative trade balances. For example, we have less export than our import in agricultural products, but it's getting better, and year by year total export from the country increases. So if you look commodity structure of import, what's the commodity structure? It's share of each good in total export. So in 1995 we had 46% of our import was food and foodstuffs. 17% it was mineral products, 10% products of chemicals, 7% metals, 14% machinery, and 6% it was vehicles, aircraft, vessels. So now it's completely changed. If we compare 1995 and the 2018, as we mentioned before, in 1995 we had 41.5% total import of food and foodstuffs in total export, and then reduced and dropped by 14.8%. Mineral products dropped from 15.1 to 6.7%. Products of the chemicals declined from 9.2 to 8.5. Metals increased from 6.4 to 12.3. Machinery also increased, vehicles, aircrafts, and other goods. So this situation, this overview reflects how it's changed. For example, if machinery increases, it means that investment climate is improved in the country, and a lot of machinery equipments are imported. So it's a geographical structure of our operations by the continents. Usually we have had biggest share in European countries, and in 2018 we had 61.1% of share of European countries. In 1995 it was 42.8%. Asian countries in 2018 was 32.7%. American countries, it's 5.2%, and 1% it's African countries. So, main trade partners of Azerbaijan, according to the report of Communication and Economic Reform Center, our main trade partners are Russia, Turkey, Georgia, Switzerland, Ukraine, and other countries. And overall, we had increases from 2018 to 2019. So, in our total export, we have a significant difference. And for example, fruits and vegetables, in 2019-18, we exported $559.6 million, but in 2019 it was $605.8 million, and we had 8% of increase. So regarding to cotton, we had a 54% increase because of huge production, domestic production in the country, and yield increased in 2018. As a result, export increased, and the export increased from 18.5 million to $124 million. So alcohol and non-alcohol beverages also increased 46% because, as you know, wine making is one of the competitive sector of the economy, and year by year it's increasing. So, what's the main reason of, one of the main reasons for import? It's self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency, it's defined as a share of domestic production to total demand. In animal husbandry products, livestock products, we had in 2018, for example, all kinds of meat and meat products, 82.7%. So what's the difference? Difference it's 17.3%, which is an import, and it is called import dependence. Also beef products, it was 85.1%. Mutton, goats, meats and meat products, 98.1%. Poultry meat and meat products, 75.9%. Milk and dairy products, it was 86.7%. Eggs, it's only animal husbandry products, which we had an extra surplus in this sector, over the 100%. And fish products, it's 83.1%. And the rest, if we subtract these figures from 100, rest part, it's the import dependence. So, what's main tools of foreign economic trade policy? Of course, each country tries to get positive trade balance. And in order that we should increase our export and to reduce our import due to domestic production, applying such import tools. So each tools we have import tariffs, import quotas, export tax, export subsidies, preferential tariffs. Also we have a sanitary and phytosanitary measures, anti-dumping duties, and etc. So what are the import tariffs? First of all, there is no export tariff in Azerbaijan since 1997, but only there is an export tariff for difference between international price and the domestic price of oil. It's a 25%, as I know. And in general, we use tariffs only for the import. And what are the main functions of the import? It regulates commodity structure of imports. So if we reduce import tariffs for machinery, as a result, share of machinery in total import increase. Ensure favorable ratio of import and export of goods. Of course, we don't impose export tariffs for exported goods, but we impose tariffs for goods. As a result, we are getting positive trade balance. Create conditions for progressive change in the structure of production and the consumption of goods. Fourth one is protect the national economy from the negative influence of foreign market. It's one of the main functions of import tariffs, which used to protect domestic market from unfair competition and other negative impacts of foreign markets. create conditions for the integration of the national economy into the world economy. Of course, if we are getting more trade and more foreign trade relations, we are more integrated into the global economy, and without integration into the global economy, it's not possible to survive. At the same time, when we are more integrated to the global economy, also we have a more influence from the international market, and we should protect our domestic market. So the functions of tariffs to serve as a source of the revenue. In our country, around 17% of our total state's budget revenue comes from the state customs committee, and the rest part from state oil fund and the Minister of Economy as a taxes. So we look here as a source of revenue. Second is to protect domestic industries. Third one is to remedy to trade distortions or to keep the balance between our relations. So import tariffs, what are the main import tariffs are divided ad valorem tariffs, specific and the combination of both tariffs. So in general, how we use import tariffs, let's say, in the case of potatoes production and the import, so let's say it's a 20, 40, 60, 80, it's 100. It's a price of ton per ton in dollars. So we have two countries, country A and country B. It's an exporting country, country B. And in country A, expenditure cost per ton of potatoes, it's $80, right? It's $80. So in exporting country, export price, it's $60, right? It's $60. What's the result? As a result, we are facing, for the country A, the country faces negative impact of foreign market. And the cheaper prices are important to the country, destroy total domestic production. What should we do? Of course, we should add import tariffs. How much? It's $20 per ton. As a result, we protect our domestic market through using these import tariffs. So how we apply import tariffs? It's ad valorem. Ad valorem tariff, it's a tax equal to certain percentage of value of goods. For example, what's the import value? Potatoes, it's $60 per ton. It's 15% is import tariff. It's ad valorem tariff, right? So according to the recommendation of the International Customs Organization, in our country, mostly we use ad valorem tariffs. Second tariff, which is called specific tariffs, how it is calculated? Again, it's for one quantity of sold or exported. For example, 50 cents for each kilogram of products or potatoes. In other case, for example, $100 for 1 ton, okay? It's a specific tariff. So mostly, but in our case, mostly we use ad valorem tariffs, but also we use both of them for the combination. So which specific tariffs are available in Azerbaijan? For example, according to the statistical data of Customs Committee of the Republic of Azerbaijan, we use specific tariffs for tomato. It's $0.91 US dollar per kilogram. Aubergine, again, it's 0.1. Dates, figs, 0.1. Mandarins, Wilkins, this is a 0.15 US dollar per kilogram. Watermelon, 0.09. Cider apples in bulk from September to December. It's also seasonal. We will discuss the seasonal import duties, which is very important for agricultural sector because agriculture has own character. One of them is seasonality. Next one is the apricots. It's a 0.25 kilogram US dollar per kilogram. Okay, so we have some case study. So it's a rice imported to Azerbaijan from the different countries, right? We have import from India, Russian Federation, Kazakhstan, Thailand, Pakistan, Turkey, Italy, and other countries, right? So in 2018, the amount of imported rice was 49,826.1 ton in total tons. So what was the value? It was $36.4 million. So it means that we spent $36.4 million to import 49.8 thousand tons. So what's the price? Price, it says $731.2 per ton. How did we calculate? This value, okay, divide by, it's wrong here, this value divided by this number. As a result, we got $731.2 per ton, okay? So this is our import price. So when we use ad valorem tariffs, 15%, what's the 15% of 731.2? It's a 109.7. Does it make sense? Okay. So what's the total? It's $840.8. This number plus this number, it makes this number, right? So it's an ad valorem tariff. It's a percentage in value of imported products. So according to the specific tariffs, for example, for each unit we add $100, right? For example, it's 831.2. Why? Because 731.2 plus 100, it's 831.2. For example, for India, it's 998.1. In Russian Federation, more than $600. Kazakhstan. So we have difference here, different calculation according to the ad valorem tariffs. Also, we have a different calculation to specific tariffs. And as you see here, there is a difference. So each country, of course, each country has own comparative advantage. For example, what's the cheapest one here? Cheapest one, it's Kazakhstan, right? Cheapest one was Kazakhstan, and the most expensive was Italy and other countries because of expenditure costs, because of the quality, etc. But mostly we use ad valorem tariffs. So what statistical data shows? According to the State Customs Committee of the Republic of Azerbaijan, in 2019, 10,236 goods imported to Azerbaijan. 10,236, right? So, out of it, 2,865, it is 28.6% of goods we use at zero tariffs. Zero means we didn't impose any tariff, and it was free of charge. This, for example, agricultural machinery, mineral fertilizers, animal breeds, etc. Second, 2062, it's a 20.6% of total import. We applied 5% ad valorem tariffs. And 4,947 goods out of 10,000, it's 49.5%. We use 15. 15, it's a maximum level, as we discussed it here, 15%, right? Also, for 362 goods, we use specific tariffs. So we use both of them, but mostly we use ad valorem tariffs, which is very important, and in many countries, most countries using these tariffs. So what's the average tariff rate? It's 8.8. So in our case, in our country, we use 8.5%. So let's look at import tariffs in different countries. For example, in Nigeria, 11.3%. In Pakistan, 10%. Brazil, 8%. Argentina, 7.5%. India, 6.3%. Average in the world, 4.9%. Saudi Arabia, it's a 4.5%. Mexico, South Africa, China, 3.5%. Russia, 3.4%. Turkey, 2.7%. 2.3% in Israel. United States, 1.6%. Also same amount in European Union, Japan, Australia, Norway and Canada. What we feel and what we observe, left side is the developing countries, right? Right side is the developed countries. As you see, in developing world, in developing countries, import tariffs higher than the developed countries. What's the reason? The reason, of course, technology, competitiveness of the domestic production. That's why our conclusion is that import tariffs in developed countries is less than developing world. That's why year by year, according to our development, import tariffs are reduced. In general, protection policy means we are using higher import tariffs. It is according to the World Trade Organization, all members of this organization are committed to reduce import tariffs year by year. Because the organization is trying to get a liberal price as much as possible. Of course, there are some commitments we will discuss in our future next lesson. So in general, if we have more import tariffs, we have less competitiveness. If we have less import tariffs, we have more competitiveness. So it's in the case of United States and China, US goods into China. China uses 6.3% import tariffs, right? But Chinese goods into the US, it's a 2.9%. So it means that Chinese in United States economy, in this case, more competitive rather than Chinese economy. So import tariffs on selected goods in Azerbaijan. For which goods we use maximum tariffs and for which goods we use minimum or average tariffs. As you see, tobacco, we use maximum tariff. Why? Because first, we have a domestic production. Second, to reduce consumption of tobacco is harmful for our health. Second, grapes, fresh or dried. Why it is maximum? Because we have own domestic production. We have a comparative advantage in this sector. It's one of the rapid developing sectors of the economy. Next is meat and edible meat products, right? Maximum. Why? Because we have domestic production and we should protect domestic interests of domestic producers. Raw cotton, not final cotton, right? It's 15% because we have domestic production. Milk and cream, again, it's at maximum level. What about birds' eggs for breeding process? Minimum, right? 0.5. Fertilizers, 0.5. Wheat, 0. And agriculture equipment, 0.5. What's the reason? Of course, to import much more innovative technology to our country and to develop, to achieve more results in agricultural sector. So that's why we have opportunities to manipulate and to use different methods in order to improve structure of import and the production sector in the country. So seasonal import duties. We should use import duties in agricultural sector because, as we mentioned before, agricultural sector has seasonal character. For example, in grain, we see the sow in October or November, but harvesting period in June and July, right? So there is no fixed period. So that's why price fluctuations and risks are much more higher than other sectors. That's why import duties, seasonal import duties should be applied for agricultural products, certain agricultural products, especially which produced in seasonal sectors. So according to our legislation, in order to operatively regulate export and import operations, seasonal duties may be imposed on some goods. But it shouldn't be more than 6 months. It should be up to 6 months. So, and according to the decision of the Cabinet of Ministers by the initiation of Minister of Agriculture, in 2018, you said there, until October 31, 2018, the rate of customs duty on potatoes rose by 30%. Why up to 30%? 1st of October, because harvesting period. Harvesting period, price is going down. That's why we should use the import tariffs here. So it's very important not only for the potatoes, also other products such as vegetables, melons, apple, and other fruits. So import tariffs rates of seed potatoes. Why in March, April, May it's lower? And September, October, November, because it's a seeding period, right? We need the cheaper seed potatoes. And the rest part of the year, all months, it's a maximum level. So that's why it's one of the important issues. So in this case, let's explain here. So we have price cap and price floor. For whom it's a price cap? It's for consumers. We are consumers, right? It's a maximum level of price. And also we have a price floor for whom? For producers. Because producers are interested maximum price, but consumers are interested cheaper prices, and their interests contradict. So in this period of the year in time, actual price of potatoes is lower than our minimum price. Why? Because of harvesting period. It's a harvesting period. If we have an import, same product from different countries, it also makes cheaper. That's why we should use seasonal import tariffs, right? And for example, in December, November, its price is higher than the CAP's maximum level. Why? Because we have more demand and we have deficit. That's why we are taking out our import duties, seasonal import duties, which we applied before, right? In order to make it cheaper. So taking into the consideration this seasonality, seasonal import duties should be applied for certain goods, and it is very useful. So we have also, according to the classification of customs legislation of the Republic of Azerbaijan, special kinds of import duties are divided as special, anti-dumping, and compensatory. So what's a special duties? It's a protective measure when commodities are imported in volumes and terms which cause damage and or could damage national interest of national producers in similar products. For example, let's say we import potatoes from any country, it damages our national interests, its volume, price. That's why we may use special duties in order to protect interest of national products, national producers. As a retaliatory measure against discriminatory, what's a discriminatory? So, country is it's exporting country, right? It exports to country B and country C, right? So, for the country B, it exports $100 per ton. But for country C, it's $70. So it's damaging national interest, or it damages interest of consumers. If we feel that there is a discrimination, then we can use special duties against in order to protect our national interests for these products. So, what's anti-dumping duties? First of all, let's start. What's dumping? Dumping, if our export price lower than its normal value, it's considered dumping. According to our legislation, if export price lower than more than 50% its normal price, it is considered dumping. And its purpose to destroy domestic market. In this case, we may use anti-dumping duties. It's close this example, but in this case, price level should be more than 50%. It's called anti-dumping duties, which we can use. So it's again here, anti-dumping duties are applied in the case of imports, commodities in customs territory of Azerbaijan at price lower than their actual cost in their origin country. So exporter at the moment of such import causes damage to local producers, similar commodities, interest of this organization of production and expansion of production of similar commodities in the Republic of Azerbaijan. So what's the result of using import tariffs and the higher or lower? So use import tariffs, it's okay from the point of view producers, but it makes expensive products, right here. It makes. So we have two countries. We have home market, we have international market, and we have exporting countries. It's an exporting country, it's the cheapest one, right? In world market, it's higher than the foreign market, and in domestic market, it's higher than the world market because of using import tariffs. It's good for agricultural producers, but we should say agricultural producers, farms shouldn't rely on this issue only. It's, of course, government support. They also should improve their production to reduce costs, not instead of to use import tariffs, right? So that's why it's very sensitive issue, and we should choose optimal level. Either we should choose free trade. Of course, it is not possible. We should use certain import regulation tools. Either we should protection. None of them is better. We should use optimal size. So developed countries, innovative developed technologies countries, they prefer free trade because they have a more competitiveness. But in developing countries which apply poor technology or innovative technology, they prefer protective policies. So that's why year by year, according to the regulation, improvement of our domestic production, and we are moving this side. In general, what's the protection result of protection policy? We use tariffs, right? We use quotas. As a tariff, prices increase, right? How increase? Like this, equilibrium price, and the supply demand shifts left side. Prices increase. Also, we use quotas. We may use quotas. Quota, it's one of some non-tariff measures of regulation of the economy. Limit supply. If we limit the supply, also equilibrium prices shifts left side, and the products are getting expensive. As a result, trade is decreasing. Unlike tariff measures, non-tariff measures, it's a little bit administrative and compulsory to use them. It's according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development classification, non-tariff measures are divided: technical measures, non-technical measures, export-related, including export subsidies. What are the technical measures? They are divided: sanitary and phytosanitary measures, technical barriers to trade, pre-shipment inspection on quality, and other formalities. So sanitary and phytosanitary measures, it's very important today as well, and related with food safety, plant health, and animal health. So we have free trade, we have right to export, but if our goods and products don't meet certain standards, we cannot export it. There should be certificate, certain standard, to follow certain standards. So measures that are applied to protect human or animal life from risks which arises from animal health, plant health, and food safety issues. Technical barriers to trade, because each year, even each day, standards are improving, and we should follow certain standards. For example, cars produced before 2004 are not allowed to import, right? It's a technical standard. And that's why, according to the United Nations Trade and the Development Conference, around 70% of the world trade affected technical standards, technical measures. So, of course, many countries pre-shipment, pre-export period need compulsory inspection, which conducted by an independent inspecting agency mandated by the authorities of the important countries. So, continental trade protective measures, we discussed anti-dumping duties, countervailing measures, it's related to the special duties, also safeguard measures. Also, we use licensing, quotas, prohibition, quantity control measures, and other SPS or TBT, technical barrier trade related measures. But, for example, there are some activities are licensed. For example, if you want to import tobacco or alcohol, you need a license, right? There is a we increase price of license. If price of license increased by the government, it's getting expensive, right? If we are making cheaper, at the same time, export is getting cheaper. So, another, it's a quotas. It's a quota, it's a trade restriction sets physical limit. For example, country can import from another country, but to use quotas and to restrict imports, it's one of the banned issue or measures by the World Trade Organization. So, other measures including additional taxes, administrative measures affects custom value, voluntary export price restraints, variable charges, customs surcharges, seasonal duties, additional taxes, charges of the different parts of the measures, non-tariff measures. So, export subsidy. Of course, in order to increase export, we need also export subsidies. Export subsidies also divided direct and indirect subsidies, which we discussed on our previous lesson. What's the indirect subsidy for export? It's, for example, financing exportable companies in the country with low interest rates. To make loans for export, insurance, low tariffs for transportation, etc. But direct subsidies, it's a payment different, but it's a compensation of export price and the actual price, right? Actual price. So if export price less than actual price, for example, our export price is $100 and the actual price it's $120. It's a minus $20. This part should be subsidized by the government, should be compensated. It's a direct subsidy. But as in quotas and other restrictions, also direct subsidies is prohibited by the World Trade Organization. Because, you know, in our case, we have two countries. Country A, both of them produce banana, right? And country A is a poor, country B is a rich, right? Country B gives a lot of subsidy, right? It's a poor country, sorry about that. Farmer gets no subsidy, it's a poor country. This country is a rich, right? Rich country gives a lot of subsidy for the production, but country B, because of its financial situation, cannot give subsidy. As a result, the subsidy makes it more competitive for the country and easily exports to the country B and destroys domestic market of country B. So that's why richer countries have more opportunities to give the subsidies rather than developing countries or poor countries. That's why it makes unfair competition in the international market. So that's why if you look structure of export subsidies, in general subsidies in the European Union, for example 1990 and 2019 and 2020, it's a planet, European Union 28 members, different subsidy, it's an export subsidy, as you know, it's a red one, it's going down, especially after the 1995, after the establishment of World Trade Organization, it's almost zero. And that's why export subsidies are parts of red subsidies. Red means it's prohibited. And in general, supports are divided red, yellow, and the green. Green, it's okay. Also, it's related to the environmental issues. Yellow, it should be reduced, but red one, it's banned. So next one is related exchange rates. Exchange rate. Of course, devaluation process, it's a negative, especially for the consumers, for the people, but also there are some positive aspects we should explain. In the case of our country, for example, it's an exchange rate of the United States dollars, right? $100, it was 79 manats, and then increase it, right? Exchange rate increase it. As a result, total costs per unit of product in dollars declined. Why? Because exchange rate increased. Just let's explain in our case. So, in the first case, $1, it's equal 1.7 manats, right? Expenditure costs per ton of wheat, it's 100 manats, or $100, it's 170 manats, okay, 70 manats. So it's, in our case, in international market, it's 150, right, dollars. So if exchange rate of the United States dollar reduce, $1 equal 1 manat, as a result, expenditure costs for unit will increase more than $300. But in the international market, it's $150. As a result, we will start to import from the international market. That's why there is a positive and negative impacts of the exchange rates on import and export operations. So, in order to promote export operations in Azerbaijan, by the government initiated many measurements and implemented different actions, also programs adopted. And in order to promote export in our country, there are some different supports from the government side. It's first of all, it's trade missions, organized trade missions, and to cover certain part of the costs. Second is market research supports. Third one, participation in international exhibitions and fairs under the national stand. Individual participation in international exhibitions. Promotion of made in Azerbaijan through the state-owned legal entities, and the other measures. So made in Azerbaijan, promotion made in Azerbaijan in foreign countries is one of the priority for the economic policy of the government. According to the decree of the President on large-scale promotion of local non-oil products made in Azerbaijan brand initiated on 5th of October in 2016, this decree contains 9 different support mechanisms to stimulate export and promote made in Azerbaijan branding. Also, if we look statistical information, statistical data, we see that there is a significant achievements and already our products expand in international market. So as export.as platform, as you know, in modern international trade relations, online discussions, online trade is very important and become very popular. And taking into consideration this issue, as export.as integrated with the most popular electronic platform, makes products available, potential buyers, potential importers, and it's also possible to offer fast and secure payments through the Visa, MasterCard, American Express cards, and others. So it's one of the achievements of in the case of promotion of export in our country. So according to the statistical data, in 2009, the export value through the export.as portal, it was up to $600 million. It's a huge amount. Out of it, 15.9% was the increase in 2018. The main countries are Russia, Turkey, 7.4%, United States, 5.4%, Saudi Arabia, 5.3%, UK, 5.3%, etc. So this is one of the achievements. In general, what our conclusion is that in order to get positive trade balance, we should use different tools such as tariffs, it's ad valorem tariffs, specific tariffs, combination both of them. Also, we should use anti-dumping duties, seasonal duties, which is very important for agricultural producers. Also, we should use SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, quotas may be used, and other tools in order to regulate foreign trade of agricultural products. So, any questions?
Yeah, we have a question, but not in English, in Azərbaycan.
Please.
Yazıq Hüseynin yazır ki, aqrar sahədə ən çox hansı məhsullara görə biz hansı ölkələrdə nasılıyıq və qismən də olsa bizdən hər hansısa bir məhsula görə asılı olan ölkə var mı? Varsa məsələn hansı ölkə?
So it's good question about import depends on any country. Of course, it's diversifying year by year. So, for example, we import, as we discussed, rice from different countries, maybe wheat or other countries. Also, we have significant contribution to the domestic market of different countries, such as Russian Federation, Turkey, and other countries. But, for example, we cannot say we should stop import and only we should export. It's not possible. We have some products, for example, at the same time we export and import, such as potatoes, right? Why? Because it's related with the season. With the season. For example, in fresh potatoes in Azerbaijan produced and we export to Russian market, and then rest part of the year we import. So it's a diversifying, and we cannot, and the government also has a food security program and food safety programs, and it is many actions are taken by the government in order to achieve more positive results. Okay. Nothing else? Okay, thank you very much.